The crystalline spires of Xylar 7 burned with an otherworldly violet fire that defied the laws of thermodynamics. David Chen stood at the perimeter of the diplomatic quarter, his environmental suit's sensors screaming warnings about the plasma-based conflagration consuming the Eternum embassy. The flames weren't just hot. They existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously, their quantum signatures flickering between states that human science had only theorized about. "All personnel fall back," Commander Reeves's voice crackled through the comm. "The entire structure is compromised. Temporal shielding has failed." David's augmented vision zoomed in on the collapsing embassy. Through the dimensional rifts in the flames, he could see figures trapped inside, members of the Eternum royal family, beings whose civilization had mastered faster-than-light travel before humanity discovered fire. Among them, highlighted by his suit's bioscanner, was Princess Anna, her bioelectric signature pulsing with distress. The Eternum were humanity's greatest allies in the galactic concordat, but they had one critical weakness. Their crystalline physiology, while capable of withstanding the vacuum of space, was catastrophically vulnerable to dimensional fire, the very weapon that separatist forces had used in this terrorist attack. "There's still someone inside," David transmitted, his voice steady despite his racing heart. "Princess Anna, she's alive." "Negative, Lieutenant Chen. You do not have authorization to." David was already running. His suit's chrono-stabilizers engaged as he crossed the threshold into the flames. Time dilated around him, the seconds stretching like taffy as the temporal distortions from the fire interacted with his equipment. The embassy's interior was a nightmare of fractured geometry. Walls existed in states of superposition, corridors led to impossible spaces, and the screams of the dying echoed from futures that might never be. David's training in quantum navigation kicked in. The fleet hadn't sent him to Xylar 7 as just another military liaison. He was a specialist in non-Euclidean combat zones, one of only 12 humans certified to operate in regions where spacetime itself had become unstable. He followed Anna's biosignature through corridors that twisted like Möbius strips, his suit's AI calculating the probability paths ahead. The dimensional flames licked at his shields, each tongue of fire attempting to shunt him into parallel timelines where he'd never entered the building, where he died as a child, where humanity had never left Earth. "Anna," he called out, his voice modulated to match the Eternum auditory range. "Princess Anna, can you hear me?" A weak response came from behind a collapsed archway. "Here, I'm here." David found her in what had once been a reception hall. Princess Anna's form was magnificent even in distress, a humanoid figure composed of living crystal, her internal structures refracting light in patterns that conveyed emotion as clearly as any human expression. Hairline fractures spiderwebbed across her torso, where the dimensional fire had begun to corrupt her quantum matrix. "You shouldn't have come," she said, her voice a harmonious blend of frequencies. "The fire, it's keyed to Eternum physiology. You could escape." "Not without you." David activated his suit's emergency protocols. The quantum shielding expanded, enveloping them both in a bubble of stabilized spacetime. "Can you walk?" "My locomotion matrix is compromised." "David, listen to me. This fire was designed to kill my mother. I was merely collateral. If I die here, it means nothing. But you. You're not dying here." David lifted her carefully, surprised by how light she was despite her crystalline structure. The Eternum had evolved in a low-gravity environment. Anna weighed less than 50 kilograms despite being 2 meters tall. "Hold on to me." The journey back was exponentially more difficult. The fire had learned from his first passage, evolving its quantum signatures to target his shield specifically. David's suit AI, a personality construct named Arya, fed him constant updates. Shield integrity at 67%, temporal coherence degrading. Recommend immediate evacuation vector Alpha 9. Can't use Alpha 9. The probability stream is too unstable. David grunted, leaping over a section of floor that existed in 3 different time periods simultaneously. What about the resonance frequency bypass? That's theoretically possible, but has never been tested in. Do it. The suit emitted a high-frequency pulse that matched the dimensional fire's quantum signature. For a fraction of a second, David and Anna existed in the same dimensional phase as the flames themselves, invisible to the fire because they had become part of it. They emerged from the embassy just as the central spire collapsed into a singularity, creating a brief black hole that consumed the remaining structure before evaporating in a burst of Hawking radiation. David collapsed on the safety perimeter, his shields failing completely. Anna lay beside him, her crystal form dimmed but intact. "You complete fool," she whispered, but there was something like admiration in her harmonic voice. 3 days later, David stood in the throne room of the Eternum flagship, the Infinite Radiance. He'd been summoned by Queen Meridian herself, Anna's mother and the supreme ruler of the Eternum Collective, a civilization spanning 200 star systems. The Queen was magnificent and terrifying in equal measure. Where Anna's crystalline structure glowed with soft blues and violets, Meridian blazed with the intensity of a young star. Her form towered 3 meters high, and her presence exerted a gravitational influence on the room itself, a side effect of her species' ability to manipulate fundamental forces. "Lieutenant David Chen," the Queen's voice resonated through every crystal surface in the chamber. "You saved my daughter's life at great risk to your own. The Eternum do not forget such debts." "I was just doing my duty, Your Majesty," David replied, acutely aware that he was one of perhaps 20 humans who had ever stood before an Eternum monarch. "Duty?" The Queen's facets shifted, a gesture David had learned meant contemplation. "Tell me, human, do you understand the significance of what you've done? By our oldest laws, the one who saves a royal daughter from certain death has demonstrated the worthiness required of a royal consort." David's blood went cold. "I'm sorry, Your Majesty, I don't. Princess Anna has reached the age of constitutional bonding. She requires a consort to assume her full duties within the collective. By saving her life in direct defiance of probability and reason, you have proven yourself worthy of consideration." From beside the throne, Anna stepped forward. She looked different than she had in the fire. Her crystal structure had been repaired and now pulsed with confident energy. "Mother, David is human. Our species are barely compatible on a chemical level, let alone." "Our scientists have been studying human Eternum compatibility for decades," Queen Meridian interrupted. "While a genetic union is impossible, a political and emotional bonding is not. The Concordat grows stronger with such alliances, and more importantly." The Queen's gaze fixed on David with an intensity that made him feel like she could see every atom of his being. This human did not hesitate. He did not calculate odds or consider political ramifications. He simply acted to save my daughter. That is the quality I seek in one who would join our family. David looked at Anna, who met his gaze with an expression he was learning to read, uncertainty mixed with curiosity. "Your Majesty," David said carefully, "I have immense respect for Princess Anna and for your civilization. But marriage, bonding, is a choice that should be made by both parties freely, not as a reward or obligation." The throne room fell silent. David wondered if he just committed a diplomatic catastrophe that would haunt humanity for generations. Then Queen Meridian did something unexpected. She laughed, a sound like wind chimes in a crystal cathedral. "Excellent, you dare to contradict a monarch to defend the principle of choice. You are indeed worthy." She turned to Anna. "Daughter, what say you? Will you accept this human as a potential consort, not as obligation but as choice?" Anna studied David for a long moment. He is brave, foolish, and apparently immune to proper authority. These are not unappealing qualities. Her internal light pulsed in a pattern David had learned meant amusement. "I accept him as a potential consort. Whether he becomes an actual one will depend on whether he can tolerate my mother's interference in our courtship. Queen Meridian's crystalline form seemed to brighten. Then, it is decided. Prepare the preliminary bonding ceremonies. We shall announce the courtship at the next Concordat assembly. Your Majesty, David protested weakly, I haven't actually agreed to. You saved a princess from impossible flames, Lieutenant Chen. Did you think there would be no consequences? The Queen's voice held unmistakable warmth now. Among the Eternum, such deeds are the foundation of our greatest love stories. You have begun something that cannot be easily undone. Anna moved closer to David, her presence causing small harmonics in the air between them. Don't worry, human. Eternum courtships last for years by your reckoning. You'll have plenty of time to run away screaming. And if I don't run? Her crystal facets caught the light in a way that might have been a smile. Then perhaps you're even braver than I thought. As David was escorted from the throne room by an honor guard of crystal warriors, he reflected on the absurdity of his situation. He'd come to Xylar 7 as a military liaison, expecting to spend his tour filing reports and attending diplomatic functions. Instead, he'd run into dimensional fire, saved a princess, and apparently started a courtship with a being from a civilization millions of years more advanced than his own. His calm chirked. Commander Reeves's face appeared, looking somewhere between horrified and impressed. Chen, what the hell did you do? I'm getting reports that the Eternum Queen just announced your engagement to Princess Anna at a Concordat-wide broadcast. Not engagement, sir. Courtship. There's a difference. Is there, because the Queen specifically said, prepare the wedding, human. That seems pretty definitive to me. David looked back at the throne room, where through the crystal walls he could see Anna speaking with her mother, their forms glowing in conversation. I honestly have no idea what happens next, sir. Well, figure it out, Lieutenant. Because you just became the most important human in the galaxy, and I don't think anyone, including you, is remotely prepared for what that means. As the comm went dark, David couldn't help but smile. He joined the fleet to explore the unknown, to push humanity's boundaries into the cosmos. He just hadn't expected the cosmos to push back quite so, personally.